5 on your side at 10 starts now.
Drenching downpours when this heavy rain chance ends as our weather impact alert winds down overnight and a look towards the 4th of July weekend.
Tornado Town Hall.
We're not asking anything, but the support from the city is something that's needed.
Tonight, St. Louis storm victims take their concerns straight to city leaders. Mayhem on Manchester. Tonight, the response to a violent Pride weekend in the Grove.
Someone's going to have to take responsibility for it.
5 on your side starts now with a weather impact alert.
Right now, scattered storms are dumping heavy rains in some areas, leaving parts of our viewing area under a flash flood advisory for at least the next 90 minutes. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush. Kelly Jackson has the night off. Let's get straight over to Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell, who's tracking these storms. Scott?
The good news is we're seeing that rain ending in the metro area, even though some of us saw some torrential rain. But east of St. Louis, we now have a flash flood warning over here in Fayette County and parts of Effingham County as well. Out along Interstate 70, the rain's been coming down at a very intense rate, and that's causing some significant ponding on the roads. You never want to drive into water-covered roads, especially at night. It's really hard to see. All right, 12:15 a.m. is when that expires. That's a flash flood warning. But there's also flood advisories for Bond County into Clinton, into portions of eastern St. Clair and Washington counties in Illinois, even for a portion of St. Louis County around the Maryland Heights area, where we saw some localized rainfall amounts of upwards of 2 to 3 inches or more. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, they're down around 70 degrees. All of this is moving out tonight, so we're just going to watch that water drain off. Tomorrow, the humidity will be dropping off on those northwest winds. You'll especially notice it tomorrow afternoon. How long does it stay away? Well, you probably have a good guess to that answer. We'll see in a few minutes, Mike.
All right, Scott. Tonight, we're learning more from police and business owners after chaotic fights broke out during the Pride events in the Grove. At least 4 people were arrested last night. 5 on your side's Andy Kroll is live along Manchester Avenue. She was there 24 hours ago when things started to unravel. Annie.
Mike, it's mostly quiet here in the Grove, except for a drag show that's happening right behind me at Rehab. But less than 24 hours ago, Manchester Avenue was utter chaos. And last year, this main thoroughfare in the city was shut down. But I spoke to business owners in the Grove who said for this year's Pride, they lost their funding, so it would be too costly to shut down again. Mayhem on Manchester.
This is madness.
Fireworks being shot in a crowd and at first responders on Sunday night while a 19-year-old man climbed on the back of a St. Louis Metro police officer with a rifle in his waistband.
These are people that have absolutely no regard for any type of person or human life. Multiple
fights escalated outside several popular bars in the Grove. One officer breaking up a fight fell, hit his head, and was taken to the hospital. Mitch McCoy, a spokesperson for SLMPD, said he's since been released.
Something has to be different because we're not going to continue to have officers injured.
A 19-year-old woman was taken into custody after shooting fireworks near Rehab Bar and Grill owner Chad Fox's front door.
And then when we have teenagers out in the streets fighting each other and carrying guns and doing stuff that's not even a part of our community, that shuts us down and shuts our celebration down. It's really hurtful to us.
After owning the LGBTQ plus bar for 15 years, Fox applauded officers for acting quickly.
With the St. Louis Police Department, we get to stay open later than we normally do on Sundays of Pride. Sundays of Pride, we're usually 7:30, 8 o'clock, we're done. They have us shut down because of the stuff in the street.
Marty Zaniga has also been president of Pride St. Louis for 15 years, emphasizing that the violence in the streets does not represent the queer community.
That is outside agitation, taking advantage of a situation when we should be allowed to celebrate. And it's sad to see that people got hurt. It's sad to see that our businesses were affected and had to close early. That impacts their business. It impacts pay for their employees on this weekend when they rely on that money.
And 4th of July is just a few days away. St. Louis police saying it's going to look very different this year, potentially holding parents responsible if their child is found shooting off fireworks or shooting guns. Reporting live in the Grove, Annie Kroll, 5 on your side.
Tonight, federal prosecutors say a Spaniard living unlawfully in the U.S. admitted to bringing a 14-year-old girl to his Berkeley home for sex. 30-year-old Jason Perdomo has pleaded guilty to 1 count of coercion and enticement of a minor. Investigators say the two exchanged more than 8,400 text messages before he picked her up from school. Police later found the two hiding in his car at his home. Perdomo will be sentenced in September. He will likely be deported back to Spain. Tonight, a woman is behind bars charged in a deadly hit and run in North St. Louis. Police say Jayla Collins turned herself in yesterday and was booked on second-degree involuntary manslaughter charges. Lionel Alexander was hit and killed on June 20th while crossing the intersection of West Florissant and Pope. The 58-year-old was walking home from work. Tonight, the first in a series of upcoming town halls in St. Louis to hear concerns about the response to last month's tornado. Mayor Kara Spencer addressed neighbors who came with questions. 5 on your side's Brent Solomon is just back from tonight's town hall. Brent?
We haven't done all that we can, but we're doing a lot. That's the message from Mayor Spencer tonight as she listened to so many people who want to know, where do we go from here?
My community makes me cry every time I drive through it. We see that side is built up and that side is cleaned up, but everything around us looks like death. Why is it that we're study selling? I feel like we should be selling anything to anyone that is not within this city.
This house that was worth $250,000, we got a $68,000 check from our insurance company. The roof cost $79,000. That's the roof.
As people came with concerns, Mayor Kara Spencer took time to listen.
Is there a plan to do FEMA application clinics?
Make no mistake, FEMA's here now. We do not want the fact that they were not here on day one to impact anyone's decision to interface with FEMA.
Here at Union Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, the mayor told the crowd FEMA has already distributed some $20 million, helping 4,000 families. She says even if FEMA rejected your request for help, apply again before the August 11th deadline. This as the city sorts through a demolition plan, first focusing on buildings that were vacant before the tornado, and then homes that are beyond repair with the consent of the homeowner.
Please do not worry. We are not going to take down your building.
She says she wants neighbors to be a part of the way forward.
To build input and to build consensus around what the rebuild looks like.
Neighbors made it clear they're watching.
We also have a petition as well with demands for the city because we're tired of lip service from the city. Our tax dollars go to you guys.
The mayor says the city is extending contracts with debris removal companies. If you missed tonight's town hall, there will be another tomorrow at the Hoover Boys and Girls Club at 5:30 p.m., followed by another on July 8th.
Tonight, 5 members of a Metro East family, including 2 children, are being treated for serious injuries after their home exploded while they were sleeping.
I heard my family just screaming, and I came out to check, and everything was just in flames.
The blast happened overnight on Fairmount Avenue in State Park Place. The cause under investigation. A family member tells 5 on your side they called Ameren a few days ago when they smelled gas. We've reached out to Ameren. We have yet to hear back. Just hours ago, Missouri Governor Mike Keogh put his signature on the state budget, but not without vetoing a $500 million in spending. According to our partners with the St. Louis Business Journal, the cuts include $7 million for the redevelopment of St. Louis Lambert International Airport and $4 million for a police training facility in O'Fallon. It's a late night in the Senate chamber at the U.S. Capitol where we're awaiting a final vote on President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Senators spent most of the day voting on amendments put forward by Senate Democrats in an effort to slow down the process. The bill extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts, cuts Medicaid and food stamps, while increasing spending for the military and border security. If it passes, the bill still needs House approval with the changes before President Trump can sign it into law. Republicans are working under a self-imposed deadline of July 4th, which is Friday. Tomorrow, voters in the 8th Ward of St. Louis City will head to the polls for a special election. 5 candidates are vying for Mayor Kara Spencer's former seat on the Board of Aldermen. The polls will be open tomorrow from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. The winner will represent several neighborhoods, including downtown, Soulard, and Lafayette Square. Tonight, the St. Louis County Animal Shelter in Olivet has regained its state license. State inspectors found the facility fully compliant during a visit this afternoon. The shelter failed several inspections earlier this year. It temporarily closed after a parvo outbreak led to the euthanization of 19 dogs. Just 2 hours ago, the deadline passed for seniors in St. Louis County wanting to file for a property tax freeze. Tonight, we saw a handful of people walking into the county government offices in St. Anne. St. Louis City has extended its deadline until July 31st. On a peeling.
I've never had a car where the paint flaked off like that.
Car owners hitting a dead end over a paint defect. Tonight, we're steering consumers in the right direction.
If you get denied a warranty claim, that's not the end of the road for you.
There are no warranties when it comes to St. Louis weather, but there are some big changes. That's in the next 12 to 24 hours. We're tracking the rain out of our area tonight and looking at a sizzling 4th of July weekend forecast in just 6 minutes.
Developing tonight, Brian Koberger, the suspect accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students, appears to have reached a plea deal. That's according to the victims' families, who say they were notified by prosecutors today. The deal comes just weeks before Koberger's trial was set to begin. It likely takes the death penalty off the table. A change of plea hearing is set for Wednesday. Peeling paint. Thousands of consumers have filed complaints about the unsightly problem on their cars. New at 10, Jennifer Titus shows us how to protect your car and money.
This is how it starts. You get a little
paint peeling on his car.
Chip. It looks like a chip, but it's actually a flake.
Is becoming common for Ed Rinkowitz.
See how it's flaking right here? See that flake?
While he wishes this was some sort of flake, he says this is now his 3rd Hyundai where the paint has started to peel off.
My daughter's hood basically just flaked completely off. Probably maybe 10% of the paint was left on it. And then my wife's car started, and that was probably 30 to 40% that was coming off. And we traded both those cars in.
Both of those cars were white.
It starts out just like a tiny, like a stone chip. It's what it looks like, but then it like bubbles up, and then it starts coming off like in sheets.
Many of you also reached out telling us about peeling paint. Then we uncovered Facebook groups with thousands of members across the country saying the same thing happened to them. From Hyundai to Kia to Toyota and Chevy, a majority of the cars were white.
Well, we brought it to the dealer and said, hey, what's going on with these cars? I've got 2 white 2015 Elantras, very similar models. And they said, well, it's not under warranty. And if you want, we can send you to a body shop and you can get it painted. It was like, I don't think that's right.
Many consumers didn't think so either. We found class action lawsuits for customers saying their paint peeled right off. Some of the manufacturers did start to extend warranties and recalls to get cars fixed. Hyundai recently announced an extension for 8 different models.
But some car owners tell us that they've already ran out of time. The owner of this Toyota Corolla says she was told that the recall to get this paint fixed expired last year. Let me show you just how easy it is for this paint to come off. Look it's literally lifting from a little bit of water. She says she can't take this car into the car wash because literally there would be no paint left.
Is there anything that a consumer can do if they purchased a car and now they realize that there's this problem that they believe is truly a defect?
So if you get denied a warranty claim, that's not the end of the road for you. First off, the most wise thing to do is to ask your manufacturer for an extension of the warranty. What's being found is that this painting issue is a defect in manufacturing.
I guess there's some hoops you have to jump through to see if it's a warranty issue.
Ed says once again he's going to take his car back to the dealership and see if they will fix the paint.
These are all brand new cars from the dealers. So you can't really say, oh, somebody else did something to it.
His 2020 car that he specifically bought, not in the color white, never thinking he'd be dealing with this paint problem once again.
It's just annoying, to say the least, that the paint comes off that quickly and why it's coming off. I'm 70 years old. I've owned cars since I was like 16 years old. I've never had a car where the paint flaked off like that.
That was Jennifer Titus reporting auto body shop owners believe primer problems could be to blame. We've reached out to multiple car manufacturers who recommend reaching out to the dealership or customer service for help. Well, with the 4th of July just 4 days away, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission is warning people tonight about the dangers of fireworks. Last year, 11 people died. Most of those involved mishandling and misfires. More than 14,000 people were injured. Sparklers sent around 1,700 people to the ER. You can play it safe by leaving the fireworks to the experts. For a list of celebrations around the bi-state, text the word fireworks to 314-425-5355. You can also enjoy them from the comfort of your home because we will stream the Celebrate St. Louis Fireworks Spectacular live on 5+. You can watch for free both Thursday and Friday night on your Roku, Apple, Fire, or Samsung TV. Broadway came to the Lou tonight. Tony nominee Taylor Louderman headlines a tornado relief concert at the Gathering Church. It also featured local artists. Money raised tonight will go towards efforts to rebuild the MLK corridor, which was devastated by the May 16th tornado. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell rejoined us now with that weather impact forecast, and he's still tracking some storms.
We're still tracking some storms, Mike, but they're not severe thunderstorms. They're heavy rainers tonight, and they've been drenching areas off to the east of St. Louis over the last hour or so. We still have flash flood warnings in effect here over in Fayette County, although the intense rainfall is beginning to let up from Vandalia over to St. Elmo, but we still have another ½ inch to inch of rain to go before this finally pulls away from the area. You see the stronger thunderstorms are a bit farther on to the east. Now, as we get back closer to St. Louis, outside of a couple of spritzes and sprinkles, most of the rain has been winding down over the last couple of hours. That front getting closer to us. The drier air is still lagging a bit behind that, so it's going to take a while before that gets here. Could still be a few flight delays with some flights tonight in and out of Lambert because of the ongoing showers and thunderstorms across the middle part of the country. There's the heavier rainfall showing up to our east. We still have flood advisories from Bond County heading down towards Breeze, Carlisle Lake, down to Nashville. And then you get into the metro area. We have that flood advisory around Maryland Heights. This is Nick Minkoff sharing this picture with me. Actually, it's a video of the rain coming down in Maryland Heights. It just literally poured in one spot, and his pool was nowhere. The water was nowhere near close to the edge until this rain pulled in and set up shop right in his neighborhood. And eventually it added 3-4 inches of water to the pool and started overflowing. Yeah, amazing. All right, here we go. Looking at this, sliding off to the east here and pushing away. The big change you'll notice tomorrow, lower humidity. Instead of dew points in the 70s, they're back into the 60s. You'll feel it tomorrow afternoon. It's reasonably comfortable. Same holds true for Wednesday. Thursday, humidity starts to increase. We're getting muggy by the time we get to the 4th of July. And it does look like it's a pretty steamy 4th of July. Low to mid 90s as we go into the weekend. It'll feel like it's close to 100 degrees with the heat index. And it's mainly dry for most of the weekend. The exception would be especially Sunday during the afternoon and evening hours. 0.13 of an inch in the rain gauge at Lambert tonight, one of the areas that did not get the heavier rainfall. Tomorrow's hour-by-hour forecast, there may be a couple of clouds in the morning, but it is getting bright tomorrow afternoon and less humid. Temperatures are going to be pretty close to where they were this afternoon. It just won't feel like it. Plus, we have the bonus of sunshine. More sunshine on Wednesday. A lot of us wake up to temperatures in the 60s Wednesday morning, which is another bonus we haven't had recently.
Yeah.
And then we get the heat back for the weekend.
As we always do.
Yep.
Scott, thanks. Frank is here with sports.
Mike, the Cardinals with a brutal night against the Bucks. You'll beat the first-round draft pick of the Blues, and we're playing hit and run with a coach who won a Super Bowl. So the Cardinals have two fine starting pitchers. That's the good news. The bad is the back end of the rotation is in a funk. Take tonight's starter, Eric Fetty. He hasn't won a game since May 9th. That's the day before my birthday. That means the last time he won a game, I was still only 45 years old. You guys buying that?
No.
Whoa.
No.
Jeez. All right, let's go to it. Second pitch of Fetty's night is greeted by this swing by Spencer Horwitz. That's 408 feet, and that's a 1-0 lead. The Pirates pounded Fetty. Brian Hayes brought in 2 with this hit. Fetty went 5, allowed 7. He's winless in his last 9 starts. Take a look at the Pirates pitcher, though. Andrew Heaney. His earned run average against the Cardinals was in the 11s. Tonight, he took a no-hitter into the 6th inning until Victor Scott broke it open. Cardinals are only 4 hits. Pirates win 7-0. Top prospect J.J. Weatherholt will be headed to the MLB Futures game in Atlanta on July 12th. Last year's #1 pick is batting .305 with 13 steals and an OPS of .883 for Double-A Springfield. Free agency officially begins tomorrow in the NHL at 11 a.m. Will the Blues land a star defenseman? It doesn't look like that will happen by trading Jordan Kyrou. You see, in about 40 minutes, Kyrou's full no-trade clause will kick in, and then Jordan controls his own destiny. Kyrou has plenty of fans, including the man wearing number 68 at the Blues development camp. He is Justin Carbonneau, the Blues' first pick of the draft on Friday night. Justin grew up loving Kyrou. Carbonneau had 46 goals in 62 games in the Quebec Junior League this season. I asked him at what age did he have this hockey dream?
4 years old. I said to my parents, my family, I'm going to play in NHL one day, and they didn't believe me at all. They say, not a lot of guys play and get drafted, and I did. So now the next step is to play, but I'll put the work in. But yeah, I was pretty young.
Alex Pietrangelo started young also as a 19-year-old in the NHL. However, the Golden Knights' rock-steady defenseman will miss next season. The 35-year-old former Blue has some serious hip issues, and Alex said that the likelihood of him recovering and playing again is low. So Las Vegas had to pivot fast, and they did. They signed defenseman Mitch Marner to an 8-year contract, which will pay him $12 million a year. Good work if you can find it. On Mondays, we play Hit and Run. It's rapid-fire Q&A with a celebrity with no hedging allowed. I would say if you've won a Super Bowl and were one of the most recognizable TV personalities in football, you qualify. Let's play with John Gruden. We're constructing the perfect quarterback. Whose arm do you take?
I'll take Mahomes.
Whose legs?
Lamar Jackson.
Whose vision?
Brady.
No football in this world, you would have done what with your life?
I would have been a sportscaster on the evening news.
You should aspire to much higher
your job, man.
Favorite all-time player to coach?
Sterling Sharp.
Why?
He's the best. He could play any position, great competitor. He was the same every week.
Word association, first thing that pops in your head. Dick Vermeil.
Passionate.
Jim Montgomery.
Competitive.
Braden Shen.
Versatile.
Tony La Russa.
Smart.
Your best recruiting was recruiting your wife in 1985, Cindy. What was the recruiting pitch? How did you sell her?
I didn't have much to sell, so I sold hard work and loyalty. I will be a hard-working guy. I will provide and do my best, my very best, and I will always be loyal and trustworthy.
And you've lived up to that?
I have.
People magazine once named you one of the 50 most beautiful people in the world. How often did you bring that up with your players and your wife, for that matter?
Oh, not my wife. I brought it up with the players every day. I used to tell the players I wasn't in the top 50. I was in the top 12, you see, because they had some ugly-looking guys in that edition. But I had a lot of fun with that. Unfortunately, I've fallen on hard times since.
Yeah, they say that at practices while the players were stretching, he would say, "Do you know I'm one of the 50 best-looking people in the world?" He would say that.
They
to all
would
the
roll
players.
their eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a chance when you were talking to him that he will ever be an NFL head coach again?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he wants to be a Blues fan and a Cardinals fan, and that's about it, and work for a couple of websites. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Well, a new harvest for a popular pumpkin brew, the revival tonight of a local beer brand. And starting tomorrow, you can get more morning news on our 5+ streaming app. Today in St. Louis, Plus will expand to 2 hours. Join Michelle Lee, Paul Cook, and Gary Frank every morning from 7 until 9. You can watch it for free on your Roku, Apple, Fire, or Samsung TV. Some popular local beers will soon be flowing again. The new owner of Urban Chestnut has acquired the brands of O'Fallon Brewery, which closed last year. That includes the popular pumpkin beer and other seasonal favorites. They'll start going on sale next month. All right, Scott has a final check of the weather impact forecast as our weather impact alert continues.
Yes, the weather impact alert continues for just a little while longer. We have this flash flood warning over in Fayette County. That's along Interstate 70 from Vandalia over to St. Elmo. We've seen 1 to 3 inches of rainfall in that area. Don't drive through flooded roads. Flood advisories for areas east of St. Louis, but the rain is winding down. The drier air will start filtering in tomorrow. The big thing is for the next hour or two, if you encounter, if you're going to be outside driving and you encounter water on the roads, just don't drive in that. Turn around, go the other way. Temperatures tomorrow will be in the 80s again. It just won't be as humid.
All right, Scott, thanks. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis. That begins at 4 a.m. Have a great and safe tomorrow.